Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for June 24th. So I had mentioned the other day that I wanted to do a video about foreign actors. So I'm going to be doing sort of 3 separate mini readings, looking at Saudi Arabia, Russia, and China, and their sort of, you know, impact or influence when it comes to the Trump re-election attempt. So I'm just going to ask, please, that if you're going to make a comment, that you be kind of careful, because if I get a lot of comments that specifically say Saudi Arabia, Russia, China, it's going to flag. And I would just prefer that it not flags. It just draws attention to, frankly, where I really don't want attention drawn. All right, so thank you for joining me today. Thank you for all of the support. You guys are amazing. I'm so grateful to have had this opportunity to do this channel, and of course Soulprint Insights, which has allowed me to connect with some of the most, I swear, amazing and incredible people on the planet. All of you guys. So, let's start with China. Let's start with China and see what the story is there, if you will. So, let's quick shuffle. Come on down. I have a question. And of course, as usual, when it talks about, I'm talking about the Trumps, I tend to have smoky quartz around. Okay, so China and Trump, China and Trump, China and Trump. Okay, so everything that kind of went on with China was about money and ultimately about his reelection, although I think primarily from the get-go, it was really more about money. Was it about Ivanka and the voting machines? Was it about Ivanka and trademarks? I don't know, but there definitely was this sort of idea of being able to make money from the connection to the Chinese. And a lot of what went on publicly, the things that sort of got our hearts racing and got us concerned, like tariffs, was really, a lot of it was just political drama. Unfortunately, it had really, really big, serious consequences. Just ask the soybean farmers, right? But really, when it started, it was more about Trump trying to figure out not only how to hang on to his money and his possessions and his assets, but also to grow them. He really was intending to leave the presidency far, far richer than he was going into it. And he views the presidency as the best networking game in town. Okay, he really saw the presidency as something that he could capitalize on, and really that was all, because of course he's not actually interested in the people. He's not interested in the people who vote for him. He's less interested in the people who don't vote for him. And of course he likes kind of that ruler dictator energy that is connected to China. He loves the idea of sort of, being elected into office and sort of never having to leave. So there was a lot there that was very attractive to him. Now, this is the thing. Trump kind of thinks that because he's the smartest guy in the room, he doesn't understand how stupid he is. And I mean that with great sincerity. I truly do. And so because of that, he was incredibly easy to play him for the fool, right? I mean, he offers you something, you say, no, I don't want that. And then he starts spinning, he starts selling, right? And he starts throwing in all kinds of things that he can do or offer or give you so that he can continue on his journey of self-fulfillment, self promotion. Okay. Now, what has happened is that, yes, he indeed has reached out to China and he has said, you need to help me. It isn't even like maybe you could do this. It's not even like I want a favor, though. He's sort of reduced to begging, right? You have to help me do this, and then I can do this for you. Except the reality is that Trump has already done enough for China. Um, and so even I get the feeling that in some ways, it's not that they're not doing anything, but I kind of get the feeling that they're doing less than Trump would like or had hoped for. I'm not saying that they're not involved. They absolutely are involved in terms of re-election, propaganda, etc. But it feels more nebulous than perhaps like Russia. This feels just a little bit more, yeah, we'll pat you on the head, we'll do this or we'll do that. And, you'll be quiet and you'll go away for a while. Understand, China's strategy is like decades in advance. They are long-term players. And Trump is, what do I have to say, in this moment to get me out of whatever this moment is. And so they have played him like a fool that he is. And in some ways, I just want to say they're getting a little exhausted because kind of the crazier he gets, the more they're having a problem, just like everybody else, sort of standing by his side, right? Because it, for it's one thing to recognize, as the Chinese do, that Trump wants, he really has those dictator-like tendencies. It is quite another to have to stand behind somebody that is the laughing stock of the planet and still try to stand there and look like you're supporting him and agreeing with him. So I'm getting some fatigue. I mean, my goodness, if the citizens of the country are feeling fatigue. Actually, you're not in there alone because apparently so does China feel just a little done with this guy. And they also, you know what, this is the thing, right? They're kind of like, okay, we'll do a little bit. We'll see if we can, kind of help this guy get through. But he's given us so much already. He truly has. Every time we try to negotiate with him, we, the Chinese, win. So they're going to do a little bit, but honestly, they're not going to be devastated if he walks away, if he loses the election. They're really, really not, because they're playing a long strategy game. And what they need now, and probably some of the things that they were going to try to go for in the years to come, he has already granted them. Um, and beyond that, there are also things that he promised them or he said he would do or could do for them that he has not come through on. And so, they see him pretty much exactly the way the rest of the world does, as a loose cannon. Does that mean they're backing away and saying, no, no, no? No, of course not. But it does mean that they're not sort of as enthusiastic or as active as Trump and the Trump campaign would like. So yeah, okay, so we have a tower moment here and we have the hangman. So you're talking again about people's ideas being changed, people viewing Trump differently, people viewing being an ally to the United States differently because he has so badly bungled international relationships. Um, This is the thing. Even for dictators who are selfish and greedy, they try not to advertise that globally, okay? People who follow their politics would know that. People who are fighting against those kinds of dictator-like energies know that. But the average person, um, probably doesn't really spend a lot of energy or time focused on dictatorships and the behavior of the dictators. Trump, on the other hand, has splashed it, in gigantic billboards around the world. And so they just, they're kind of done with the guy. And like, again, he has proved to them how incredibly foolish he is. And in some ways, oh my God, they just sent me the funniest picture. Okay, so what they're showing me is a cat, and he's playing with and stalking a mouse. Trump, of course, is the mouse. And at some point, that poor little mouse is kind of tired, and the cat just goes, done. It either eats it, it breaks its neck, or it throws it away. And that's sort of where China is. It's like they've played this cat and mouse game so long with Trump and have won and won and won that at some point, it's not that they won't take whatever they can get, because of course they will, make no mistake. But one gets the feeling that they're really kind of, done. They again, it's that sense that they've gotten so much already, that they're kind of not done, but they're they kind of are. They're tired of dealing with him and his nonsense. They're really tired of dealing with how stupid him and his advisors are. It's one thing for political leaders from different countries to not view things exactly the same way, but it is exhausting and fatiguing when all of a sudden you are dealing with somebody who doesn't even know what the facts are. Never mind try to stick to them, okay? He doesn't even know what they are. And so it kind of puts them in a place that they're kind of done with the guy, right? All right. Let's check out Russia, shall we? So Russia, for sure, is behind the majority of the misinformation campaign that is going on in U.S. politics in support of the Trump re-election bid. Now, Putin, he has had Trump's number from the minute Trump announced his intention to run, ever since he came down that gaudy gold elevator. So, and Russia has, they've gotten a lot. They haven't gotten everything, but they've gotten a lot. And Trump continues to do whatever he can do to continue to, carry water, frankly, for Russia. That's what he's all about. Okay, so tell me about Russia-Trump election, Russia-Trump election, Russia-Trump election. Okay. So Russia is strong, okay? And they have a strong arm around his neck. And they're not losing any power, okay? They are losing nothing by the help that they are giving Trump and, by extension, the Republican Party. And honestly, it really does feel like there's a fair number of Republicans who really have some secrets to hide when it comes to their involvement or interactions or dealings with Russia. So it feels very much like Russia has a fair bit that they can hold over their heads. And I'm not exempting Democrats from this. I'm just focused on the reelection of Donald Trump. So that is part of the way in which they were able to sort of secure the Republicans' acceptance and tolerance and ultimately support of Trump, was because there were some things that each individual was sort of trying to keep hidden or quiet. Now, as this, this is sort of interesting. So as Russia's behavior became really, really well known, not only in the the international intelligence community, but just sort of everywhere. The average layperson now has an understanding or an opinion about Russia and their involvement when it comes to the United States elections. And frankly, beyond that, there are other countries that Russia has been very, very busy trying to control, trying to get their leaders sort of on the same page as them. And this is not for any reason than because Russia wants to be stronger. But what has happened is that even though Putin thinks they're doing a fabulous job manipulating Trump, and to be fair, they are, but Russia in some way has almost damaged to some degree their own worldwide reputation. And so you're going to see, the G7 do not want them back. The G20, I think by and large, you're seeing that sort of a tolerance and not much more. So in some ways, Russia damaged their reputation not only with the United States, but frankly, the behavior has drawn notice of other countries. And so Russia maybe had won with Trump and getting him into office and getting Trump to do all the stuff that Russia needed or wanted him to do, whether that was, secrets that were being shared, whether that was him praising Russia publicly, whether that was agreeing with Russia in Helsinki. It it was beneficial for Russia in that regard, but I think ultimately they too may end up having some cleanup work to do, not so much because they care, but more because they're going to start to realize that they've lost whatever leverage they did have, and they're going to have to try to figure out a way to kind of gain some of that back, because they're going to keep on doing what they do, and what Russia's doing is it wants to bring down democracy, and the more it can make the countries that practice democracy look foolish because they have inept leaders and they have a disaster voting and they have all of these other social relationship type crises, they're winning. It's as simple as that. They win because they are able to sort of play the games they play. But again, on some level, the world has been watching, and the world is not only really appalled by Trump, they are kind of really done with Putin too, because it's just unseemly behavior. I know that sounds like a really mild kind of word, but that really is it, right? Other leaders of other countries just sort of, they kind of look at him. I honestly, I want to say like there's a bad smell in the room, you know? They sort of have to tolerate him, but they really don't want to have a whole lot of um, connectedness, interactive relationships with them. It is that person that they tolerate. Okay. Now, Russia, on the other hand, unlike China, they would really love for Trump to stay in office for another 4 years because let's face it, getting Trump elected was like the gift that gives all year long. It just keeps on giving that gift. And so they are not, you know, they're going to continue to do what they're going to do to help Trump achieve that success that he wants. And, again, the borders don't concern them, right? I mean, they really don't, because Russia's looking for sort of global dominance. It, they're okay with keeping him in office for a while longer, it looks like. So again, comes the caution that you have to be very, very mindful of the stuff that you are buying into, the articles you are reading, the things that you are seeing on the internet, because they're being manipulated. Things are being twisted. And again, they have a whole bunch of different ways of doing that, right? Sometimes they come in as someone who seems supportive of you and then just starts causing trouble. And then there are those that are just flat coming in and flat out lies in order to get people riled up so that they again shift their attention to the fact that Trump is sort of the only one who can fix this. But the universe would like you to know that justice is coming for Russia. They are not going to survive their behavior for years and years and years to come. There is coming a time in Russia where the Russian people are going to be able to gain and hold a truly democratic system. At some point, Putin's gone. And I think I've spoken about this before, and I don't remember what I said. So let's hope they're the same thing that I'm saying now. I kind of get the feeling like 3 to 5 years. And Russia is going to really be undergoing some significant changes. Now, I say that understanding that Russia is part of a planet, and the planet as a whole is going through this huge transformational time where we are redefining what it is we stand for, what it is we want the planet to be, our countries to be, our locales to be. And so it's possible that Putin may actually start to feel a little bit less secure. In the very near foreseeable future, if he is not already experiencing that, because justice is coming for Putin, and I gotta say, it's riding hard because even justice has had enough. It's time to bring this kind of behavior under control. So I guess that's good news for Russians, the Russian people. And ultimately, sort of, again, bad news for Trump, because even though right now, they are, doing what they can to support Trump's reelection. Once Putin's gone, Trump isn't going to have a great deal of support. And not only that, once Putin is gone, especially if they get a leader like the way Ukraine did, somebody who is really, really dedicated to cleaning out the corruption, it'd be very interesting to know if there was compromise that ended up kind of getting released. Now, that's not next year. It could be in 3 years, it could be in 5 years, I'm not sure. But at some point, a lot of this, like, really, oh, look what's sitting on the bottom, the devil. This really sort of unsavory behavior is it's going to sort of come back and bite him. So let's now move on to Saudi Arabia. I have to tell you, I am woefully undereducated when it comes to Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to be relying even more than normal on the intuitive messages and energies I get. So just be kind if I get the wrong word or the wrong country name or whatever. I'm going to look at it as Saudi Arabia, an umbrella. But let's just see what's going on with Saudi Arabia and Trump. Here we go. Saudi Arabia, Trump election. Saudi Arabia, Trump election. Saudi Arabia, Trump election. Okay. All right. So, they are really good, especially that prince or the king or whoever, the guy that put all his relatives in a hotel. They are really, really talented, really clever when it comes to flattering Trump, when it comes to feeding his ego, when it comes to assuring him that he is one of the most savvy politicians they have ever had to deal with. He is so remarkably intelligent. They are just full of praise. They are really, really good at it. And because they're really, really good at it, he pays a great deal of mind to what they tell him. Because, Trump loves anybody who agrees that he's smart, right? And so they, again, master manipulators. So this is the thing. Trump and his family owe money everywhere, in Russia, in China, and in Saudi Arabia. There's business deals in all three countries. There is money that is owed in all three countries, but you got to understand kind of that money is owed. It's not kind of like the rest of us in the real world who, owe money for our bills or owe money for our mortgages. And we know that there are not good consequences if we don't honor those obligations. Well, it's kind of different when you're dealing with those other countries because they view Trump's the loans or even Trump defaulting on the loans or Trump not paying back the money. They view that as irrelevant because it was a minor investment to them. So China, we'll just go back to China for a second because I happen to know that number. He owes China, or the Trump organization, owes China $250 million. Okay, that's a lot of money. But you know what? How much has China reaped beyond $250 million over the last 4 years, getting exactly what they wanted? So in some way, the loans that they handed out, which of course, really, certainly in Saudi Arabia, they saved Jared Kushner's butt on that 666 building in New York. They consider it sort of a fee, sort of something that you're going to spend anyways. So for them, the amount that they give out is minor to the amount that they reap, the benefits they gain. So that's part of that dynamic there. So when you hear somebody say, well, Trump or Trump organization or the family or Jared owes this country X number of millions of dollars, all that does was it gave those other countries yet something else to hang over their own heads. Because the Trumps, and by extension the Kushners, are just all about the ego. They're not smart enough to actually have savvy business strategies. So it's very easy to flatter somebody's ego when they're desperate for your help because they are trying to maintain the illusion of the life they created. So Saudi Arabia really, in some ways has the Trumps over a barrel. I almost want to say more than the other countries do. Maybe because, is it because Saudi Arabia was very quick to help out during his term of presidency? Was it because they were really open to kind of stepping in when the Trump / Kushners just needed that extra little push to get them over the starting line? Saudi Arabia was there jumping in fairly quickly. They weren't horsing around. They were doing what they needed and wanted to do because they were setting the Trump family and Trump presidency up. Okay. And again, because Trump has no sense of history and frankly, no actual regard for human life, it was really easy for them to just say to him, yeah, this is the way it's done. And because frankly, he doesn't care about people or their lives, he was like okay with it. Like he really was. He was okay with it. And so that gave them all the more power and by extension, all the more leverage. And in some ways, they really have been able to sort of offer them untold riches. Deals behind it when you're out of the office of president, well, we'll do this business deal with you, or we'll let you build that, or we'll support this. They've offered him, it feels like an embarrassment of riches. And that has absolutely blinded him to reality. And so, in fact, the Saudi Arabians have actually managed to maneuver Trump into a state of either greater illusion and delusion, which frankly, like, wow, that's like an accomplishment to take that mind and be able to take it up 3 or 4 notches up with the same insanity. And Saudi Arabia is getting what they want. Okay, they have gotten what they wanted of the Trumps. They are going to continue to get what they wanted of the Trumps. And so that would be actually another country that I would say, you know what, you guys need to be kind of careful of ensuring that you are not falling for any of their propaganda, not falling for some of the stunts that they're going to pull in terms of trying to impact the election. So it sounds like you've got some foreign actors who are kind of on a scale, right? To kind of like, I'm okay whether he leaves office or stays, to, yeah, it would be really, really great to have him stay in office, to, we're going to do everything we can to keep him in office because this guy is the gift that keeps on giving. So, and of course, Trump is being played by all of them and a few others besides. He is so desperate to curry favor with them. He is so desperate for their help to be reelected that there is nothing he will not do and nothing he will not promise. So again, it is important to be really mindful of the fact that there's a lot of stuff going on that is really going to try to impact, if you will, the election. And I don't see it succeeding. I don't. But that doesn't mean that they're not able to create a lot of confusion, a lot of misdirection. And so people who are really committed to getting Trump replaced with a new president really have to keep their nose to the grindstone and keep their eye on the prize, because the ability to make that happen, to bring in a new administration, is there. You just can't back away from the challenges that you are going to be presented with between now and November 3rd. Okay, so I hope you found that helpful. Thank you ever so much for joining me. Your support is amazing, and I'm very grateful for it. Until next time, take care. Be well. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.